Hey everyone, thanks for listening. So this is my second take at doing this. I just spent 20 minutes recording this only to realize the mic was off the whole time. So hopefully I've got it right this time. Today's interview is a conversation I had with Isang Smith. So most of you guys know her from the AcuTalks videos that she puts out. Some really great quality videos. I love them. I recently was able to collab with her and actually make a video. It was the Acupuncture Oath, and I'll link it up below. You know, I just kind of talked to her a bit about how she got into acupuncture before, and she was actually a former Division I NCAA athlete, which I didn't know, which was actually pretty cool. I asked her about how she was able to build the social media following, how she went about managing these social media interactions, how AcuTalks came about. So she usually goes to other acupuncturists and interviews them, and they're good quality videos. And the reason why I did a video on making videos is because I think there's this statistic out there, by 2020 over 90%, 95% of social media, Facebook, Instagram, is probably going to be video, if not within the next year or so. So I think it's a really great time to be doing video. It's not too saturated yet, but only if that's your thing. But it's very interesting because I think now is the greatest time because equipment is so cheap, it's so accessible. You can literally just flip on your phone, do something, do a live video, or even an Instagram story, just to promote your practice and just to get acupuncture out there. So we talked mainly about how to capture people's attention through video, how if you find something that you really like, you can always basically look at it, reverse engineer it, and try to recreate your own. And it's a great way to story tell. So there's this thing out there called story selling. So rather than putting a photo of something and just saying, hey, call me now, 1-800 something something, you can literally tell a story, which is what I'm a huge fan of. I'm not a big fan of, hey, come get acupuncture, call now, big bold letters, and here's my number, call me, rather than, I've actually been able to get a few referrals from other practitioners, just have seen me through social media, and just by, telling a story. Here's a lady, she couldn't walk straight before, and here she is after acupuncture. Go see your local acupuncturist. And I think video is a powerful thing because it's, I think, what's that saying? A picture tells 1,000 words. I think a video tells 10,000 words, 10,000 things about how amazing our medicine is. We talked about fear and the fear of putting yourself out there when you are doing video or social media. Everyone goes through it, but I think our medicine is definitely something the world needs. And we talked about dealing with negativity, talked about how Isang edits her videos, how she does her interviews. I asked her what platforms people should be focusing on in terms of social media. And we just talked about how nothing is forever. So it's always changing. Marketing is always changing. So the best thing to do is just experiment, have fun. If video is your thing, just play with it. If you're looking to get started, you can always send me a message or send Isang a message. We're more than happy to help you because we've spent countless hours trying to figure things out. We know how frustrating it is to want to do something but not get that effect that you really want. So once again, here is my conversation with Isang Smith. So just a side note, the audio on my end on this one, it's probably not all that great. And thanks for tuning in. Today I've got a really special guest today. She is a licensed acupuncturist, massage therapist, running coach, and a former Division I track and field athlete from Columbia University. She's got a bachelor's in psychology, but most of us probably know her from AcuTalk videos. So the one and only Isang Smith, welcome. Thank you for coming in.
Thanks for having me, Bob.
So yeah, I mean, because I've been watching your Instagram feeds and things, and just week after week, I just see this exponential improvement. It's like, oh, this girl, she's on her cell phone, and then she's got a DSLR, and then she's got a glide cam. It's like, whoa, this stuff is pretty cool. And thank you for sitting down and talking about it. So what is your background? How did you discover acupuncture?
Yeah, I discovered acupuncture because as a competitive athlete through high school, college, my body, pretty much as you can imagine, like it went through wear and tear, and I experienced injuries across the board. I was a hurdler. I was constantly kind of using one leg to push off, and over time that was my issue leg, and a bunch of other injuries happened along the way. But finally, my senior year in college, I my left leg was just I was in so much pain, and I was told by my athletic trainers there, like, hey, we can't figure out what exactly is going on. Nothing was helping, and so they told me that probably I would have to take the season off. And I was like, no, this is my last season. This is, I don't want to miss out on the last chance to go and run competitively in college. So at that time, I never explored any other approaches or even to do self care for myself. And I Googled, there's like, left leg pain, and the search led me down that way where I saw things pop up on the side like massage and acupuncture. And I was like, oh, what's acupuncture? And I pretty much started researching it. And I was like, okay, this seems promising. It's like definitely not something I ever considered, but it seems like miracles happen, I guess, reading some of the testimonials. So I was fortunate enough to go and find an acupuncturist who specialized in, orthopedic cases. And, he had a sense of kind of the injury I was dealing with. And when I first met him, what changed, it really changed my mind really of how I viewed health, and also just in general how to approach injuries, was how he approached treating me that very first session. And he was like, oh, we'll fix your calf for sure, but let's work on your spine first, and a whole host of other things, which I couldn't comprehend at that time. And so one thing led to the next, where I was like, oh, wow, he didn't really work on my calf, but he worked on, a whole host of other things. And it started to work after that first session. And so I was I was converted, and I kept going back. And over time, it slowly was explained to me, like I was taking it in, that there was this whole other world for how to approach health. I've always been interested in medicine in the sense of just wanting to take care of people. I think I was naturally inclined to go and become a massage therapist after that, because in the past, was always kind of working a little bit unofficially on my teammates whenever they were sore and pain. So I was like massaging them. And they always would like say, "Oh, go to her. She like knows how to like really work out the knots and stuff like that." So that's kind of how I was introduced to acupuncture. It's because I had a sports injury, and I felt like there was nothing helping, and I was I was desperate to just like continue on with my track season. And there you go. I was introduced to acupuncture through that way.
So was he able to get you back in the season? Were you able to finish that season in the end?
Yes, exactly.
Oh,
So
that's awesome.
I was able to improve enough in time to compete competitively for my last year. And, there's a whole other like chapter after that where I was working through some various health issues. And, I just kind of kept going back because I was just curious. I was like, oh, I wonder if acupuncture can help me with this, help me with that. And, just over time, my lifestyle changed, my mindset changed, and I was still competing after college, and I wanted to just really take those next steps and listen to my acupuncturist and really, take a proactive approach with diet, sleep, that type of stuff. So I was able to complete my senior year in college, and but I continued on, kept going back to get acupuncture.
Oh, that's awesome. Which school did you end up going to?
So I went to Tri-State College of Acupuncture here in New York City. And that happened though after I got my license as a massage therapist. I have been a massage therapist since 2012. And then I finally got my license from Tri-State College of Acupuncture this year.
Oh, congratulations. So,
thank you.
congratulations. I mean, so you've been able to build this like big social media following even before you graduated, which isn't easy because, like even people that have graduated 10, 15, 20 years don't have as many a social media following as you do. How did you come about that? Do you have a background in marketing, or is it just something just trial error?
I think, well, looking back at when I first started really taking on social media, I studied psychology in school, and then after that, I went to massage school. So I wouldn't say that I delved into marketing education, though I really wish I kind of took a few classes. But I think like what really started to happen when I like got a Facebook account, when I got an Instagram account, I was like, oh wow, look at all these like really neat ways to kind of share and inspire people and really, get material out there that I felt could help others. And I started coaching runners in 2012, and I think it just kind of became this natural thing, like watching how other runners interacted online. Like there were Facebook groups, there were a lot of like hangouts. You would post race pictures, and so I kind of like got into that groove of like just being really active on social media and posting. I love posting inspiring quotes. I love posting about coffee quite often. And I love just kind of sharing moments, I guess, in my life that I feel might potentially serve others, to be like, oh, okay, I'm going to get out of bed. I'm going to take on this day. We definitely all go through moments in life where sometimes we just need a little push. And I found that sometimes through social media, if you use it as a great, positive tool, it can kind of transform your life for the better. So I kind of really started delving into that. And, I have a few relatives that also, I think it's just like, I don't know, around my age group, like we all kind of like jumped in and started making these social media profiles online. And then it was a double incentive because I also was a massage therapist. So I was trying to like promote my practice. And yeah, I really took it on back, like I'd say around 2012, to really focus in and start to create, grow my presence online. And then I guess, naturally became curious, like how do people, how do they organize this stuff? And then how do they make these really cool pictures or graphics? And there's so much material out there. And I just kind of kept exploring that. So I love the potential behind it, to shift mindset, to give ideas as an educational tool. And that's why I think I delved as much as I did into it. So yeah, that's kind of how I got really involved with social media.
Could you talk about AccuTalks? Because it's these really cool videos are circling around. You did this really great one called, was it Who Am I? And that got, did they get like 100,000 views or 50,000 views? Or?
Close. So on Facebook, it so far has, I believe, 37,000 views, and reached beyond that in terms of how Facebook calculates like how many people are reached on their news feed. It was by far, like it has been the most successful so far. And there's another video we recently put up that is getting a lot of traction. And just posting, trying out new things, trying out new angles, lighting, animations. It's been really fun. And with AccuTalks, to, really explain how it came about, I would say it's in the spirit of that one video you mentioned, the Who Am I? And that's really what I was attempting to do when I first started all of this. I think it occurred like in the beginning of February this year. I was in this moment of like, how is it that I felt that there was not enough people that knew about acupuncture, and all these amazing practitioners and their stories. And, my classmates, I was surrounded by classmates that they got into acupuncture because they overcame something in their lives that through acupuncture, that I was like, wow, this is amazing. Like, how is it that not many people know that this is a possibility through this medicine? So, a few events happened that kind of like lit the fire, and I was like, all right, I'm going to go ahead and get my iPhone, and I have a GoPro, and I asked my friend Zach, I was like, can you just pretend needle me, or like just do an acupuncture session? Like, you don't have to like diagnose me or anything like that. You just go ahead and like place a few needles, and we'll be talking. And I just want to show people that within an acupuncture session, I'm relaxed on the table. I'm definitely like, I'm not in pain, because there's a few misunderstandings or misconceptions I kept hearing from my friends about it. And so I posted the video, and I started to notice the way people engaged with that video. And I believe that he got a few leads off of that, because someone's like, oh, looks like you were okay. Maybe, how do I get in contact like with him? And I want to try it out. So, I've sent a few people his way. But at that moment, I think it just dawned on me. I said, maybe video is a great way to really convey what it is that we do, but also I think like in that moment, and in the beginning of that month, I was like, I need to find out how people make these things. Like, how do they make videos that capture people's attention? And the universe works in that way. I just by chance. So I personally, I growing up did not really get into like watching movies, or I wasn't like really, hardcore, like, oh my gosh, that actor, or, film, etc. But my boyfriend is a huge movie enthusiast, and he, we're definitely coming from different backgrounds and watching movies, but I think just by being with him and watching how he relates to movies, like storytelling, characters, all these elements of the storytelling, that over time it started to occur to me. I'm like, oh, the emotion behind it, like the story that you get a chance to carve out through like quality, editing, or just like piecing together a story. I think it all just kind of came together. So after that, I really started to play around. Before that, like before AccuTalks, I was playing around with like cat videos. I was, I noticed I was like, I make my friends laugh, and I have a cat, two cats, and recording them, making like fun little videos about them, and little exercise videos too. But then just started to really research like how people make quality videos, and I took a lot of inspiration from the stuff that my boyfriend watches, and I always go to him for like, hey, what do you think I should do to like get this topic across? And then he sends me examples of videos that he likes, and then I kind of just try to research like how is it that they're doing this. So I did not anticipate to get to this point and learning so much about creating videos, but I'm truly grateful like that I got to meet the people that I did and talk to them. And so AccuTalks kind of just developed over time, because I got to meet people and ask them how they do these things. And my friends taught me about, if I could give you a few examples at the very beginning of AccuTalks, if you could look back when it first started, I was blinding my subjects. I was so excited that I got my first softbox lights. And the beauty of it all is like I love taking pictures. Like I was very happy. I was like, oh, I have a setup. Like I put my softbox lights up. I didn't research like really what to do with them. I was like, oh, you just light up the scene. But fortunately, I took a picture of that when I was interviewing my subject, and my friends who do this as a living and stuff, they're like, hey, great job, like great job on going for it and like getting your first softbox lights, but maybe back the lights off a little bit. And so I started to piece it together. I was like, oh, okay, like I'll keep going, keep learning. My friends, they just really were so nice to like come together and like tell me some of the basic stuff for creating these interviews. And I think it all happened just like through mistakes that I've made. I just get very excited about learning new things, and I just go for it, and then I kind of learn along the way like how to not do certain things. So it definitely formed in a very beginner way.
It's a learning process. Yeah, no, it's very interesting, like listening to people's journeys, because I think part of the reason why people really resonate with what you do is because it kind of gives a voice for a lot of practitioners that a lot of times people don't know what is behind Chinese medicine or acupuncture. It's always like, oh, and every time you do see it on TV, it's on, I don't know, Agents of S.H.I.E.L.D., and there's like the glowing neon needles, or just recently Angelina Jolie, she credits acupuncture for, resolving her Bell's palsy, and then you see the media outlets, and then they'll hire some doctor guy in a lab coat, and they'll be like, oh, there's no scientific evidence for that, it's just a coincidence, and I really think what you do really gives everyone in the profession a voice, like, oh, hey, listen, like, this stuff does work, and and there's always someone who challenging, oh, there's no research, but I feel like we do research every day. It's like, we go to clinic and we fix people, you just come by the clinic, there's your research. Like, why do you keep asking for research when you just show up, and if it works, it works?
But, yeah, and I agree. Like the idea for just putting it out there and showing people like, hey, this actually is the case for what it is that we're doing. And more to come on research for like on AccuTalks. There's a few things I'm excited to share with people, because I do want to tackle that topic where I'm sure you and we both experience on a day-to-day basis, people saying, oh, there's no evidence for that. But this is why I'm very excited about what it is we get to build, online, is like, actually, here's the people that I interviewed, here's the articles that we can share with you, go to PubMed. There's just so much out there that I feel with all the things obviously that on a day-to-day we're learning about, we're being exposed to, it's like, here's a chance to just get a quick moment. Like, actually, here's some research that's been being done on acupuncture. And so that's definitely something that hope to keep tackling and showing people like this is actually what's happening.
Yeah. I think that's a funny thing you brought up, because I think by the time anyone kind of books in with us, they're kind of over it. They don't really care if there's research. Like, I don't care if there is, there isn't. Just fix it. Can you fix it? Can you not? And then we're looking for a solution, and it's really ironic. But in terms of social media, because I wanted to ask you a bit about fear, because I've experienced it myself as well, just about putting yourself out there. I think a lot of people, students or new practitioners, I don't think we're leveraging social media enough, or just kind of that fear of putting yourself out there, that, either be it public speaking or speaking in front of a camera, your cell phone, or just even putting up a post promoting, hey, this is what I do, come try it out. Have you ever experienced that fear, like, oh no, the camera's on, like, what do I say, what do I say, what do I do? Like, well, who's watching, like, what if the high school bully is still watching, or you don't know who's watching?
Yeah, I definitely have gone through that, and I still go through that. It's, it's, if I could look at, there's two parts I feel to the social media experience that I could say could intimidate or could give a little bit, give someone anxiety to like kind of start using it. One is the video part. If you make videos about yourself or take pictures of yourself, it is something that I know I had to kind of work through to say, okay, I'm on camera for, I don't, at the moment I don't record live because I myself, I have to prep a lot. Like I write down what I'm going to write. And then I actually, I know like all the stuff that I post online, it looks like, I could just kind of talk to the camera, but a lot of work kind of goes in before that to kind of like warm up and, take a lot of moments to kind of like feel at ease when you're on camera. And I've learned, like, I've been able to kind of cut it down into a shorter time to kind of get ready, because I get set and I'm doing my, like, I do some breathing exercises. I do, I talk exaggerated. Like I've researched a lot of things online, like how to feel comfortable with public speaking. And, I force myself knowing, like, there's so much value behind this medicine, and there's so many people in the world that need a chance to experience this or some other healthcare modality. And I recognize the value of going and being able to talk to someone and being able to present. Say if you join a networking group, if you join a running club, or you lead a workshop, like there's so much value for that one moment to say, hey, this is the story behind what it is that I do, and here's how I can help you. And it's nerve-wracking. Like this is not something that, for some people it might come naturally, but this is something that's not necessarily like natural to like constantly put yourself out there. And it's a very connected world, and social media can be kind of harsh sometimes. You see stories,
Right.
A lot of people that post something and then, I don't know, it goes like viral, and then people are like really nasty, and that's the brutal part of social media. But I've definitely seen more positive, I feel, for like, especially in our profession, when people post something that's very helpful about essential oils, or they talk about an experience they went through or a patient went through. And that in itself is just putting out positive vibes, positive waves of something. So I definitely, if that helps the viewer, there's some moments in my head I'm like, oh, okay, if I post this, will someone make fun of my hair? I don't know, just something like some element. But once you put it out there, once you start kind of getting comfortable with it, you could see like the rewards are tenfold. I find it's so valuable just to keep going and pushing through the fear, the discomfort, and just to share the story. And the other part is social media, like to create an identity. There's definitely a part where an identity online is in some ways different from what it is in real life. And, I try to stick to a few of the positive values that I consider I want to live day to day. And that is, to be positive, to be funny. I think humor, laughter it's the best medicine, and to really just shape this story of inspiration if possible. And I think that those type of traits, like I've kind of stayed consistent like with what I want to post, and that in itself too. It's like some people, if I could say like sure, there's like one or two people down the road that like are like, oh, this is like so corny, or like they'll say something negative and you kind of get your feelings a little hurt. But then what I've found, and what I totally agree with, reading on some of the experts that do this, that they talk about the value of social media, it's that they're like, that's when you're really making waves online.
Right.
When somebody
Right.
notices you,
Yeah.
and if they say something negative about you, you're like, that's right. They notice me, and that means that all this that I'm putting into it, it's like, it's something's happening. And so, obviously there's other steps you take with someone that's being negative against stuff that you post. Customer service is always great to, work through and like have your lines ready for people like that. But I would say there was definitely fear in the very beginning. I go and I get anxious sometimes about topics that I want to discuss, but at the end of the day, what you put out there, if you're doing it because you want to help, one, the profession, two, people to find a way to help themselves. I think that can just carry you through, and you'll find a way to kind of overcome that type of fear. So.
Yeah, thank you. I completely agree, because it's really refreshing to know that I'm not the only one that gets nervous before I turn on the camera, because I think you're right. Like I've been probably doing this about 2-3 years, and every time before I turn the camera, I gotta say, like, I just like, oh man, hair's not right, or I haven't shaved, or
Yeah.
I'm looking too skinny, or I gotta work out a bit more, and I think the worst thing is just the worst person, the critic, is actually yourself. And I haven't gotten too many negative things happen, and it goes back to what you were saying, where maybe I'm not getting enough attention because it's I gotta work harder. But I think a lot of people out there, like, they want to help people, but they're like, oh, my hair's not right, or I'll do it next time, or there's always that resistance and fear of looking not perfect. And I think it's refreshing to know that everyone goes through that. What would you say is your number one inspiration? What keeps you going? Like, who is there a person in your life that you just look, okay, cool, they can do it, I can do it? What?
Well, it's definitely my boyfriend. He's inspired me
Alright.
through this. He's been very patient with me too. There's been a lot of sacrifices to get to where I am, both professionally and personally, and a lot of sacrifices made for even learning as much as I have learned in the past few months to learn how to make videos, to connect with people. My boyfriend has, like, through and through, been a steady presence and super supportive, and I would say that it's been very inspiring just to be with him. And I would also say that he and I, so he's a physical therapist, and
awesome.
he and we share very similar challenges within our profession, and also how we feel we are perceived as professionals. And it's great in the sense that, the fact that we share that, I learned so much from him about what he and his, colleagues are going through. And I'm like, oh, that's so interesting, because acupuncturists are going through that too. Seems like we have a lot in common. And so, who inspires me, what inspires me, I think it's simply to try and like elevate all healthcare professions at the end of the day, elevate a system that makes sense in the most simple of terms, that there are options for people out there, and here's what you can know about it. Here's the story behind it. I'm inspired by, to go kind of down the line, I'm inspired by the practitioners that do open up and share their story. It's an honor to have an hour with somebody who I'm like, hey, so I want the chance to tell your story, and talk about this technique. And they tell it, they share it, and then I get to sit down, and it's that type of trust too. It's like, oh, they're trusting me to tell their story. I get to carve out something. I love editing, by the way. It's really fun. Like you're just getting some quiet time to like edit and just see these stories start to take shape.
Yeah.
I get inspired by the stuff that they share, and I never knew about them. And there's some interviews I've done that I'm like, wow, thanks for sharing that because you didn't have to, but
Yeah.
it's really what then puts your story together and why it is that you found this medicine. So definitely my boyfriend inspires me. This idea inspires me that practitioners can have more of a voice if there's a contribution I want to make to this profession. It's just to really use this newfound passion for creating videos and give a voice. And so that's kind of, what fuels the everyday process.
I think now is actually the best time because technology is so accessible. You can even, flip it on your
Yeah.
phone and get a little mic, and then, it's just so accessible. Whereas even 5 years ago, 10 years ago, this would unheard of. You would have had to pay
Yeah.
for what we do now. You have to shell out at least 12, 13 grand for that type of equipment to get the shots that you're doing. I mean, it's just the best time to do it. It's now, I think. So in terms of sharing, what platforms do you think people should be focusing on? More on Facebook, more on Instagram, more on Snapchat? Do everything? Where should people put their attention and effort on?
So I think that it really will depend on one, what you are enjoying. That say, if you really enjoy posting on this social media platform, go for it because you have to really be motivated to kind of engage on these platforms. Two, it's like who's your target audience, right? The thing I think mostly matters when you're going out there and spending as much time as you want, as you would on social media. If you have a target audience and they're not hanging out on that platform, you kind of should reassess and see, okay, do I, if you're really wanting to focus, say, on, I don't know, say babies, like pediatrics, like where's all the moms hanging out? If you really want to focus on young, like millennials, what platforms are they hanging out on? And there's so many articles out there. I've gone through some books that time and time again, there's like different stories, different schools of thought for where everyone should be, what the trends are. But what I found that works for me, it's seeing where the most engagement happens for some of the material I post out there, finding my strengths. My strengths are definitely like for Facebook and Instagram. I'm on there constantly. I have most of my networks on there, and so on and so on. Like my networks really exist on Facebook and Instagram. And I would say for guidelines, it's just experiment. Draw out some platforms, like try some stuff out. Like if you don't even have any apps yet, if you haven't tried out YouTube or Instagram, try it out. Like give yourself a timeline. Say, okay, in 2 or 3 months, if I'm not feeling this platform, if nothing is making sense to me, or it's nothing's happening, go try out some other stuff. Because that's what social media is. It's all an experiment.
Yep.
There's definitely, you'll see these like buzz lines like the only platform you should be marketing on is, and then dot dot dot, and then like, well, things change so fast these days. I would say that nothing really sticks for long. And I think even like say with video, so video, they're projecting that by, I don't know, I'm not going to get this accurate, but I think it was like 2020 or so, 80% of all the stuff that we're viewing online on Facebook, Instagram, it's going to be video based. And, I totally agree with that. I think that video is definitely it's definitely increasing. I'm seeing more and more video online. And that trend, I would say, think about that. Think about your time commitment, like how much do you want to put into this, and understand your why. Like, why do you want to invest that much time into Facebook or into Instagram? Because then I think that will really guide you to where you want to hang out on, and then also help you structure what it is you want to do on a day-to-day basis, on a weekly basis. It took me some time to really find a formula that works for me based on my lifestyle. And I think that everyone should explore different formulas for what makes sense for them.
What would you say to someone, say, that's interested in video, wants to sees the ROI in video, but is really intimidated by the cameras and the lights and things. Because I think we're all there at one point. What would you say to that person?
Yeah, I would say go for it. Whatever you have, use what you have, and try things out. I mentioned before earlier that I got my first softbox lights because I saw on YouTube somebody was like, the great way to like light up your
Yeah,
subject's face is to use softbox lights or something. You could even make your own. I was like, I don't know if I could make my own, but
make your own.
I'll
That's
go and
ambitious.
buy
Yeah, all
the
right.
cheapest. Yeah, somebody was very creative and used like a house lamp, and
Wow.
then I don't know, they kind of angled it in a way, and it seemed very involved. But I bought the cheapest set. I was like, I'm going to try this out, and I just tried it out, and but to go into like how I learned also, I was like, how do people get that nice white background behind them? And yeah, this is where, so we live in a studio in New York City, and this is where I know my boyfriend is very patient with me. I got this very big white tablecloth looking sheet. And I hung it up behind me, and I was like, okay, windows are here, lighting looks okay. I put my iPhone, I angled it, and I was like, I have a white background, and that type of stuff. I recommend to go through those moments. Anyone, like, try things out, and whatever videos you gravitate towards, ask yourself like, oh, I wonder what that person is using or doing, and start small. Like, at first I thought about how I couldn't record videos because I didn't have any video equipment. I saw these amazing videos online, and I was like, oh man, it's too bad I don't have like thousands of dollars to buy this amazing whatever DSLR, like Sony A7S or something like that. And but then I was like, but I do have, like, at that time we were able to get a GoPro. I had my iPhone. I was like, okay, I'm gonna go ahead and see what we can make out of this, and just started playing around, and storytelling. There's people tell stories in different ways, and I found my way to put the cameras somewhere and just start speaking to certain topics. So I would say people should use what they have. If you have your iPhone, that's honestly what you should start experimenting with. If you have, a very, very old video camera, go for it. Like, anything that you can do for the basics, that's something I highly recommend. And then just start practicing. If you see too, there's at the very beginning of this year, I did make a commitment to myself. I was like, I wanted to, work on connection, consistency, and creativity. Because I'm an Aries. I'm very impulsive. Also, I tend to pick up projects and then I kind of like taper off for some of them. But I found that I was resolved to really just stick to one type of project and just go for it. And so videography has been that, and it all started kind of with the basic stuff, the iPhone and getting a mic and blinding my friends, and just kind of learning that way. So people should definitely check that out. And I think
Yeah.
my goal down the road is to also just do like a quick like workshop or something like that. Like, this is how I created my home studio, or this is what I like to do in certain parts of the day. Like, I'll definitely share more about how all of this came, and like even through this, I'm sharing what started it, and I'll definitely try and like structure it for people so they can also experiment with that. It's all experimentation.
What's the number one resource that's helped you out in making your videos?
Definitely Google.
Google.
I was Googling the crap out. Like I mentioned before, my boyfriend watches a lot of videos on, like, he loves BuzzFeed videos. He loves
Mm.
to watch these science videos. And, it's very, it's mind-boggling how much they're able to pack in, like, to bite-size, and educate people on certain topics I never knew about. And so I would say the resource, like, as before I mentioned, what it is that you feel comfortable with, what it is that you tend to hang out on. I would recommend, do a hashtag on Instagram or on Facebook. Find videos in the topics that interest you. See what people are doing with their videos. And then also just kind of like Google, YouTube. There's so many things out there now that, which is why, like, as you mentioned, now is a great time. And there's so much opportunity to do what it is that we're doing. The world is connected now more than ever. So you're going to find somebody out there that you're like, oh man, that was such a cool way to like make a soft light, like use your house lamp. You're going to find something out there. So I'm definitely collecting a few links that I think they have some quality resources, and I can send it to you for cool. Like some people I found that were pretty inspiring. And but once again, it's all just kind of researching, experimenting, seeing what it is that you like to view. Some people might not really like to go on Instagram, just YouTube and stuff. I would say go where it is that you find you're engaged, like you're interested and just go with that.
Great. That's really great advice. So say if you saw a BuzzFeed video, you kind of watch it several times and try to reverse engineer, like how are they getting that shot, like, or what are they doing, or where's the camera placed, and just put your mind that's what I do when I'm watching other people's videos, like, oh, what are they doing to get that camera angle, or how long are the cuts, how long are the edits. So it's just really breaking down. But I think me and you, we really have a passion for that. So I think for most people, I think the first step would be to just overcome the fear first. Ask yourself why you're doing what you're doing, and just have fun with it. For me, I'm having lots of fun, and I think it's just about people putting stuff that they really genuinely are passionate about. Isang, thank you so much for being here and sharing your wonderful advice and experience and telling us about your journey. I mean, I'd love to have you on again just to see, in a couple years' time or in a year's time, maybe when virtual reality is popular, who knows, So,
true. This is true. It is definitely becoming more popular.
Yeah, I think we're probably 5 to 10 years away from that. But so where can people find you? What's the best way to reach you?
Yeah, so they can definitely go to the website, Acutalks.com. I am on Facebook, Instagram, YouTube, and they can also email me, Isang at Acutalks.com. I'm definitely always open for a conversation, and like to talk about things for sure. It's definitely been quite an amazing roller coaster of sorts to kind of like figure out how to get this platform up and how to make it kind of a mission that I feel people are sharing with me now. And I thank everyone for really just kind of pitching in ideas or suggestions, or even just like, hey, I think, that piece was really great. Or even if you're that person out there that has to challenge me, like I invite you to that conversation, because that's the whole idea, is like the more we talk about this, the more it gets out there. And I would say just, find me and start a conversation if you want to. I'm around. So
that was my conversation with Isang Smith. And if you like this content, if you find this helpful, please leave a comment, please share. It really, really keeps me motivated to keep going on. And that's kind of my new mission right now, is to just help everyone in the acupuncture industry. Because I know how hard it is starting out a practice. I've been there. Sometimes I still feel like I'm still going through it. So I'm just reaching out to every successful acupuncturist I know that's out there, that's making a living, making a decent living doing acupuncture. And I'm just trying to pick their brain and see what they do, so I can learn that success, share that with you, share that with everyone, and just make the world a better place, because I know the world really needs our medicine right now, like Isang said. And I think a really important point that she mentioned is you have to enjoy it. You have to have fun with it. For me, I am always drawn toward the visual, so photos, video. I'm testing out this audio format right now, but one thing you'll never see me, or you'll very rarely see me put out a blog post, because I'm not a writer. I suck at writing. There's going to be grammar mistakes, punctuation mistakes, things are spelled wrong. Is that even a sentence? So that's not my strength. So I think if you are looking into marketing your practice, I think number one, it should be fun. You should enjoy it, but also I think also do a self-assessment just to see what your strengths are, what you're good at. And I think that's where most people do excel. So it's all about just knowing yourself, really. If you are interested in starting out in video, you can always send me a message. I think Isang's really open. You can always send her a message. All right, that's it from me.